Hello, here's vlog for the 7th. It's like 10 or something. I, well, today, I was working until like 5, totally nocturnalized. I kind of forced myself to go to bed because I wanted to get a little bit of sleep. So I don't think I even slept last night. I just kind of was like laying in bed until 8:50, and then I went to drop the car off at the mechanic. Um, I was gonna ride my bike back, but then I kind of was, even though it's nice, but I didn't really want to. I called my mom to see if she wanted to take me back, and she said to just wait there because it's only an hour. So I was like, okay. So I drove there, and he said I wasn't supposed to drop it off until 1. So I called my mom, and she came and got me. And plus, because all of a sudden, because I was gonna drive back, all the smoke started coming off of the hood. So hopefully that's not too expensive because I'm gonna have to pay to get the alternator put in. And and uh, so yeah, and so I'll have to pay for that too. Even though I already sold the car, it's, I haven't handed it over yet, and it's still in my name and all that. So anyway, I sold it for $1,500 more than I bought it for too. So, but I think that includes getting the new alternator in and new wheels and new seat covers. But I took the radio out and all the speakers. Now there's just a big hole where the radio was. But I can give them the whole radio anyway. So then I'll see if I can get my mom to sell my radio, because it's her fault I have to sell it in the first place. She's not taking responsibility. In fact, I was gonna read the email. I'll do it tomorrow. She's using it as a reason to like tell me to get a job. Well, y'all read the email tomorrow. It's really stupid. Anyway, because I'm like smack dab in the middle of something right now. Yesterday, I guess it was night before last, I decided I needed to go ahead and add the side things. Here, maybe I'll show it because I have the computer right here. Go to the website. I'm actually already on the website. All I have to do is go to the timeline. Here, I'll go to my timeline real quick because it'll only take a second. It's South Europe. Okay, so this page. This is like South Europe, 1500 to 2000 BC. And you see those on the side. That that is the new thing that I needed to have, because I was looking at my timeline, and different UN regions and different periods of history are have different levels of knowledge written about them, and that shows that they have, history comes in waves. Like South Europe, 500 to 0 is really big because of Greece, and then South Europe 0 to 500 is really big because of Rome, but then it gets kind of small in the past, and then maybe 500 to 1,000, So just to compare them, just based on how big they are, and also how big different countries are, and different sections are compared to each other, you can see from the thing on the side. So, and also, on the timeline. So that's how it works on the timeline. And also, I decided it can also be used as a linking thing. In case it's easier. I don't know why it would be, but because you can link to the thing you're linking to, but I might want to link that way, so you can link that way because they're all as anchors. But also they're on the timeline. They also take you to that year, because I have actually I have it by decade, not by year. But I could do it by year. But yeah, you can click it. It'll click you to the year of the timeline, the vertical year of the world page of the timeline, and a new page. So that's cool. And so that's how it works on the timeline. You can compare how big different countries are and different sections are compared to each other based on looking at it. And also, it's a way to kind of remember where you are on the page. And like if you're going to compare what happened in 450 BC, or like if you're going to compare what happened in like 1350, or then you would want to know, how much more information that has compared to the other centuries, and then you would want to know where you compared that is on the page, and so that's where you would look on the meter on the side. But then it would also work for the books. I'm super excited about the books too, because like on the timeline, I only put it on one page, 500 to 0 South Europe, and it was only the first 100. And it took up maybe like half, and I think I'll put another 100. And I'm curious to see how much the biggest page I have, like West Europe, 1500 to 2000, or North Europe, 1500 to 2000, if it would do all of 1,000. But and if it does, that's cool. And then you could compare how big the biggest ones are to each other with that gauge, which I'm curious about, because you don't really have a way of knowing unless you have that. But I decided to build it 10,000 because I wanted to do it with my books, and my books are really big. I have a lot of books that are like 3,300 pages. That kind of seems to be like the size of all the biggest books kind of tap out at 3,300 pages. It's kind of weird, which is exactly how long ago civilization started. 3,300 years ago, suddenly started in 3 places: Indus Valley, Mesopotamia, and Egypt. But yeah, like the Old Testament, or the Bible's 3,300 pages. Livy, Pliny, who else? All of Cicero, all of Plato. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, so what was I saying? I slept last night. Actually, I didn't sleep last night, but I'm not tired. I'm just yawning because I'm talking. I used to yawn in college also. The teacher would be like, "You're yawning. Don't be tired." It's like, I'm not tired, dude. I just yawn. Anyway, so what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, so it's going to work really well on the books because I have these really big books. And so with just 1,000, right? Because each number is just this much. So with 1,000, it's not enough. So if I make 10,000, that'll take you down a lot in a book, and I don't know how much. I mean, if I had to guess, well, 100 appears to be, and you saw it, appears to be. In fact, I'll show it again. Let's play this game together. It's a fun little game to play. Intellectual games. We need to do more of these. So, okay, so that's 100. Okay, and that's 1000 to 1500 BC, South Europe. So that's like not a big page, one of the smaller ones, because it's a long time ago. That would be like Trojan War time. That's like the only thing on there, Trojan War and Mycenae. So, and Cyprus. So, I mean, Crete. So, that's 100. And so if that was translated into a page, into a book, in fact, what is that in terms of a 46? Oh, wow. 48. If you start the top at 1, it'll take you down to 48. So 100 is like 2 pages worth, 2 scrolls, 2 screens worth. So 1,000 is that times 10, so 20 screens worth is 1,000. Kind of works out almost exactly. That's cool. 48. Oh, so that's cool. So 20 screens worth is like 1 screen worth, and it's not the entire screen, because you don't want to read all the way across, because then you can't find where the line is when you go back. So I just have it this wide with 20% on either side, and then that's where I put the images. It's really cool. Better than how they have it now, where they just have the images down here with it scrolling. It's not with the, or it's taking it in, it's not symmetrical. So 1 screen worth taking up 80%, I mean 60% of the screen. Yeah, never thought of it. It's only 60. I thought it was more than that. That's probably like a couple pages, like 500 words worth, maybe. I can't remember. I should have that memorized. I'm gonna go figure that out right now. I'm like super curious. But if I had to guess, I would guess about 2 pages, at least 2 or 3, 2 pages. Okay, so 1 screen worth, so 2 pages times 20, that's 40 pages. Is that right? Oh, no, you have to do it double times, so that's 80 pages, because it's 2 screens worth. So 1,000 is 80 pages. So if you times that by 10, that's 800. So 10,000, which is what I want to build now, that's good enough for 800 pages, which is the same size as Herodotus. This is just assuming a screen worth is 2 pages, which I'm going to go check right after this video. So it'll take up a whole book, a nice big book. It won't do the really big ones, but I don't think my computer is even strong enough to be able to handle that. Like, I don't think you would be able to just, because I have to be able to cut it, Control X, cut it out, the entire book, in order to put it completely inside of this other table with the things on the other side. So it would not work. I know. Where's my roommate? I know that I'm telling you right now, it would not work with the Old Testament. It would just spin around, and then it would crash, because it's way too big. So, and that's about 3,300 pages. So, and besides, for me to make 10,000, that's like, that's going to take a long time. And it takes extra time to do it with the linking too, because, I have to individually type in what year to link it to. And so if I'm going to do it with 10,000, I was thinking I might as well link it all the way to 10,000 in case I'll do that later on in my timeline. Kind of have a little thing for the next 10,000 years to link to. And that's actually an interesting mental exercise to guess what's going to happen in the next 8,000 years compared to what happened in the last 2,000. So, I have my work cut out for me, and I'm getting off to a really slow start because it took me a long time to figure out all this in my head. Like originally, because I think I've been thinking about doing this for a long time, but I didn't think it through. And all of a sudden I was like, I have to have it, right? And so I built it. And then I was like, because I was originally only going to build it like for the timeline for like, 100, but then I needed, okay, I guess I'll do 1,000. And then I was like, oh shit, I think I need to make it linkable. So that's when I linked it. But then after I linked it, as not links that you click to take you to the timeline, but as anchors, I went, oh shit, I want to make it as a link though. When you click on it, it takes you to a separate page to that year. Because I'm already taking up the space, I might as well make it a link. So, but if you add the anchor before the link, that changes the location where the anchor is, and it doesn't automatically move it. So then you have to go in and drag it around over, and that's what I'm doing now. So so adding all that extra stuff in there after kind of is it's taking longer than it should have because I didn't think it through. So after I get done with this, I have to drag the rest of them, which won't take that long. I just sit here and I go drag with one hand. While I listen to the book, it's really cool. I'm listening to this dude's lecture about the Peloponnesian War for the second time because it's really good. I'm listening to it for the second time because it's going to be taken away on May 5th. It's like a Great Courses Plus. I think I might be paying for Great Courses Plus because I get all these Great Courses Plus for free on my Audible. I need to go and check because I think that's expensive. I need to cancel it, but I'm using it. But yeah, and it's just really good. So, like really good, like better than Kagan even. And so he's like actually Kagan's student. I can't remember his name, but so what I'm doing now is great for listening because I can concentrate. But yeah, all I have to do now is just drag, and I'll be done in like half hour or something. That's not a big deal. But then I have to go in and type in the link individually for 2,000 of them, and then I think I'm done. Yeah. And then that's when I can proceed to try to do the next 9,000. And the reason that I have to individually type this in is because if I paste it on, like Dreamweaver is programmed to not allow there to be two like hyperlink anchors on the same page at the same time. If you paste something that's the same as the hyperlink that's already on there, it adds like a number to the end of it. And I don't know how to change that setting. I don't think there's a way to switch the setting on that. It's just a matter of like what version you use. And I think all the versions do that. So I have to go in and just manually change all of the links, the hyperlink, the name of it, and the link and the link. So it's fucking time consuming as hell, and I have to do it for 2,000 because I have it on either side, and they all do that. So it's just, but I'm hoping it won't take as long for the next 9,000 because actually it will. Yeah, I'll have to manually do it in for all 9,000 more, and which means 18,000 because it's two sides. Um, and then but then I have to do it for like two things, so there's 36,000 times I have to go over the next week. I was hoping I'd get it done in a week. Um, but it's important that I build it all at once and like cleanly with a clean code, because if there's any like inconsistency at all in any of that, when I throw it all together, like my timeline with all of the different links that has, and then I'm putting it inside of another table that's got its own linking with 36,000 links. Like if there's any inconsistency, it's gonna like it does that thing where it pops up all the little the A's, the slash A, that are redundant, and it warps my whole fucking table, right? Because it shows up like a letter and it changes the shape, and it's gonna make it fuck. So I have to make sure to make it clean, not make it a hairball. Isn't that what they call it when somebody build something, but with the code all messy, so it can't be compatible with any other new code you throw in. So so I I I mean, it's great brain candy work, but the reason okay, so here's the reason that I wanted to do 10,000. Number one, because supposedly, hopefully, and I'll check after the video, it's good for 800-page book. And the reason that you would want it on a book is because some of these chapters are really big. Like, you have a book that's like, that's 800 pages, for example, like Herodotus. And Herodotus is broken up into, I think, 8 books. So that means each book is 100 pages, and each book I don't think has a chapter. But if each book has a chapter, the chapter could be like some chapters. Well, see, some chapters in Plato are more than 100 pages. Like Plato's Laws is like 100 pages or something. And so, if you're reading something in my book, you can't rely just on the chapter all the time to remember where you are, because it's a fucking 100 pages. So how are you going to scroll down and find that? The way that you're going to do it is because you have the meter on the side. You just look over and you see from 1 to 10,000 what number you're on. So if you ever stop reading a book, or if you want to remember where on the book a quote is, or where you were on the book, or where something was, you can remember on the meter on the side, And I think a lot of websites actually have that feature. I've seen some websites with that feature. It doesn't look like how I have it. They have it a lot simpler, where it's only on one side, and it's just like numbers every once in a while or something. Where I have it like in my style, where it's really intricate and big, which is better because it doesn't take more space anyway. But and I chose 10,000 also because 10,000 is this reoccurring number in ancient history, Like nowadays, everybody talks about the billionaires. We have really big numbers, billionaires, and there's 8 billion people on the world, and billion this, billion that in budget or whatever. But stuff was smaller in the past, and they thought in terms of like 10,000, because like 5,000 is around how much you could get in an agora in a forum. The ancient Athenian agora was 6,000. Jesus spoke to 5,000. Roman legions 5,000, 4,800. A military unit in ancient history is 5,000. How much how big an army from a city state could, like Athens, could create in warriors, 5,000. So like 5,000 is this unit, and then so double that, 10,000. So whenever they try to say, and so when you put two armies together, which they would do, or two armies fighting, there's 10,000. So when you have a big battle, usually it's 10,000. And so whenever they say like a big number, they always like to say 10,000. When Socrates says that you burn in hell for like being sinful, you have to spend 10,000 years in hell. So just 10,000, it's just this reoccurring number. So I thought it would be cool, and especially when it comes to people, like 10,000 warriors, 10,000 citizens in the state. So I thought it would be cool to have 10,000 number, 10,000 on the side of every one of these historical books, because it helps you conceptualize 10,000. And 10,000 is a number that you can conceptualize just kind of across the board, like in terms of time. You can conceptualize the time back to Jesus, and then only 5 times more than that, 10,000. 10,000 years ago is when the comet struck Earth and when Atlantis crashed. And so, yeah, and I couldn't even go bigger than that anyway. Like I said, like if I was like, well, why not do 30,000? To accommodate the biggest books you have, the Bible, Pliny, Livy. But the problem is, maybe later, but not now. Number one, it'll take too long, but number two, the computer couldn't even do it. It's too much to ask the computer. So maybe I'll do that with the next computer when I'm old and don't have anything better to do. But for now, I think I can do it for 10,000. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go in the next, maybe a half day, next couple hours, I'll be done with this 1,000. And then what I'll do is just batch edit, which doesn't take any time at all. Batch edit to get it up to 10,000, and then proceed with the time-consuming part, which is where you go into the code, and you have to just plug in, the 10,000 numbers for all of them, which is like 36,000 of them. So that's where the time comes in. So, yeah, that's what I'll do. That's what I'm gonna do. And for the next, hopefully I'll be getting started with the rest of the 10,000 today. I'll be done with this today. And then I have to pick up my car before they close today, so they'll call me, and then I guess my mom said she'll drive me off. My mom and I were not like talking. We didn't say a word to each other when she drove me back to town. We're like super pissed off at each other because I was texting her yesterday like, don't make me sell my radio. You sell the radio. It's your fault. I have to sell it in the first place. Because of this whole thing that's going on right now. Like, I really want to get done with this thing, and I want to see what it looks like with the 10,000 on my Herodotus and also on my timelines. Like, I have to see what it looks like. Like, I couldn't hold it in anymore, because I've been thinking about building this for like 10 years. I was always thinking like, I'm eventually going to have a border on the side to show how big it is on the side, because because my website's all about meters across. So if I'm all about meters and across, it's just naked, it's not finished if you don't have it on the side too. And so, and computer screens are getting bigger and bigger, like you can check out my timeline on my 80-inch TV. And so it's not like you don't have the space, you know what I mean? So anyway, and I was actually looking at it on my cell phone when I was waiting for my mom to pick me up at the car place. Yeah, and it looks great on a cell phone, even with the cell phones on vertical. It looks fine. It doesn't take too much space. So, and you can see the numbers and everything, so it's great. Anyways, I talked for almost a half hour, but it was only about my website, dude. This channel, I only talk about my website. That's all I talk about. I talk about my website, and then maybe a little bit at the beginning and the end of the video is my life. Just basic, but it's basically my timeline, so it's not like I'm babbling or repeating or anything, And it's also not like you should be commenting like, somebody's like, why do you not want to get a job? It's because I have a website, or it's like, what's your website? It's Kylepounds. Like, what do you do with your life? I work on my website. I mean, that's what this video is about. So anyways, Kylepounds.com timeline. I also have everything on Google Earth, too. Alrighty, talk to you tomorrow.